Well, welcome. Welcome to the New Health Conversation podcast. My name is Peter Greenlaw. I started the New Health Conversation a number of years ago, and I think it's something that we sorely need. So I hope that you will appreciate what we're going to share with you today, because it's really important that everybody has an opportunity to see what's possible. So let me go back to Prism here for this. So anyway, this is the New Health Conversation podcast. I welcome all of you to it. My name is Peter Greenlaw. I've been a nutritional researcher for more than 21 years, and in that 21 years, 20 of those years, nothing mattered. The only thing that mattered really was medical research, which has now come out in 7 new peer-reviewed human trial studies. So I hope you really enjoy it. We're not going to give you any opinions. We don't think that's appropriate at all. What we're going to do is we're going to give you absolute evidence of what really does work and what doesn't work. So I hope you'll find it to be very, very impactful. So anyway, we're going to start probably in about another 4 or 5 minutes. We want to let a number of people come on and get situated. So hopefully you'll be in a position that you can really take some notes and learn some things. The one thing that I will say that's so different about what we do with the New Health Conversation is we don't give you opinions. Opinions shouldn't matter to you. They don't matter to me. They didn't matter for me for almost 20 years of research. The only thing that matters in the medical world are peer-reviewed human trial studies. We're going to introduce you today to seven new peer-reviewed human trial studies where the men and women weren't even allowed to exercise. It was 80% women, 20% men, and yet, as astounding as this may sound to you, they lost as much weight in 7 days as 8 weeks of any diet. They lost as much weight in a month as a year in any of the diets. And everything we're going to share with you is medical knowledge. We're not giving you opinions. We're not making claims. We don't need to do that. I think when you see that a traditional diet now is really pretty much one of the most unhealthy things you could ever do, you probably will want to be in a position where maybe you don't consider a traditional diet ever again, right? So I see some nice people coming on here. Well, hello, Janet. Hello, Dan. Hello, Gail, hello. Oh, lots of people coming on. So listen, my name is Peter Greenlaw. I started the New Health Conversation movement. It's a registered trademark on the U.S. Patent Office. It's a really big deal, and I hope that you will all really, really enjoy it. Oh, hi, Janet. Nice seeing you. So anyway, this is the New Health Conversation podcast. What makes it different and unique, and why you probably may want to pay attention and listen to it, is because we don't give you any opinions. We only give you medical facts. There's plenty of people on TikTok, on all the social media platforms that will give you opinions. We don't do that. We don't feel that it's really appropriate. What other people do, that's none of our business. They can do. You can follow whoever you want. But I ask you this question. Have any of the providers you've seen so far or followed, have any of them ever showed you even one shred of medical evidence, ever? Because the real important thing is that we now have medical proof for the first time in nearly 4 decades that finally there's a real magic bullet for weight loss. Not hyperbole, not some advertising stunt, not a celebrity endorsement. No, hard medical evidence. And what we're going to do today, we're going to compare the medical evidence on diets, the real truth behind diets. You're going to see in medical studies, how did they really do when it came to lowering calories? How did they really do when it came to like time-restricted eating? How did they really do when it came to any and all of these, diet, whether it's fast, whether it's counting carbs, whether it's carb recycling, whether it's diet and exercise, 10,000 steps, whatever it is. So you all have an incredible opportunity to really now just have an option. Our goal at the New Health Conversation, and that's this podcast, this is not an infomercial. This is absolute scientific evidence. But what should really excite you, you're going to have an opportunity to literally see a completely different course. You may or may not want to do it. That's up to you. If you want to struggle through a typical diet, but we're going to point out to you today how unhealthy going on a diet by lowering calories really is. This probably will shock you, but the medical evidence is the medical evidence. The one great thing about science for all of you, it doesn't have any emotions. It doesn't have any judgments. It just is. Now, at any point, any time during this interview, during this podcast, you can go to our website. I'm going to type it up here for everybody. The New Health, if I could just spell, conversation. At any point, you can go to our website. Let me post it here. There you go. And you'll see all the medical studies, both on traditional diets and also on this new revolutionary, which is a non-diet protocol that, like I said, is pretty unbelievable, even for me as a researcher after 21 years. But the point is that if we have 80% of America overweight and 50% of those people are obese and 50% of Americans are pre-diabetic, does anyone really, I mean, honestly, do any of you really think that diets work in the long run? Yes, you can lose weight on any diet. You're going to see that. But when you realize how unhealthy it is to do a traditional diet, relying on food from the grocery store in North America, you're doing two really unbelievably unhealthy things. Now, you may fit in your skinny jeans for a while, but how many of you have gone on a diet, you've lost everything, and you gain everything back? Over and over and over again, you know that that's happened. So again, today you're going to have an opportunity to really look at something completely different, completely new, et cetera. So let's get started. So welcome everybody to the New Health Conversation podcast. My name is Peter Greenlaw. I've been a nutritional researcher for 21 years. I don't tell you this to impress you, but I want to impress upon you. I've written 4 best-selling books with medical doctors. I've done 20 shows on PBS. I've done over 1,500 lectures all over the world. And for 20 years in the medical world, that meant nothing. It meant zero until this last year when 7, I'm holding it in my hand, 7 peer-reviewed human trial studies came out. Now, one thing I will promise you, we are not going to give you an opinion. We're not going to make any claims. Whether it's with this new revolutionary new protocol, which is not a diet, or traditional diets, we're only going to read from the medical studies. So you get a fair chance to see what's going on. But let's start with one of the biggest myths of all, and that's about lowering calories to lose weight. Okay, I got 3 different articles here, studies. Listen to this. This one's called "Why You Shouldn't Count Calories." Remember, this is they're saying this, not Peter Greenlaw, okay? Look, truth is, calorie counting is a terrible approach for weight loss. While counting calories and restricting calories can help you lose weight in the short term, the approach has never been proven to keep weight off long term. Wait till they go on and say. What's even worse is 2/3 of people who try to count or restrict their calories gain back more weight than they lost. Did you know that? 66 and 2/3 of the people, not just back to where they started, they weigh more than when they started. Now let's go to it. I never rely on just one study. This is Harvard Medical School. The title of this is Stop Counting Calories. Listen to what they say. The idea of a calorie in and a calorie out when it comes to weight loss is not only antiquated, it's just wrong, says Fatima Stanford, obesity specialist at Harvard Medical School. Drop the calories notion, says Stanford. It's time to take a different approach, putting the emphasis on what's in the calorie, not how many calories you're consuming. These are the top experts in the world saying they made a mistake. Telling us to count calories and ignoring what's in the calorie is one of the most unhealthy things you can ever do. This one's entitled, Don't Bother Counting Calories. It's complete nonsense. What did they say? Initially, more than, notice, they use the word more than. Initially, more than 95% of people will go back to their baseline and many will go above it. They rebound back if they're doing any form of calorie-restricted diet. Again, you can count calories, you can do whatever you want. There's plenty of people that will tell you that the only way to lose weight is to lower calories. Well, I'm sorry to say that now the medical evidence says that's one of the worst things you could do. What's so ironic in these new 7 peer-reviewed studies, it's not a diet. I'll explain it all to you in just a couple of minutes. First of all, the people here, when they compare this protocol, which is not a diet, to all the diets, these people consume more calories than the diets they were compared to. That's number one. Now, lest you think it's unhealthy to lose weight that fast, on a diet it would be. In this case, with no exercise, because the researchers didn't want them to exercise, these people gain 6 to 9% lean muscle mass with no exercise at all. And they lost no water. And in 8 weeks, they shrank their visceral fat by 33% in 8 weeks. But here was the big thing. In a month, blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides, and inflammation all came down in 30 days. Hunger went down by 41% in a month. Now, just to put it into perspective, these researchers are considered the number one researchers in the world for weight loss and health for almost 4 decades. And they are the ones that conducted these studies. They don't sell anything. They have nothing to do with any of the things that were studied in the studies. They, for 38 years, have looked at about every single diet out there that you can name. from paleo to keto to Mediterranean to Jenny Craig to Weight Watchers to Nutrisystem, etc. But the thing that was so astounding, they realized on all the diets they ever analyzed, people lost weight. It was not up for debate, but when they really analyzed it, they realized that about 40% of what the people were losing was lean muscle mass. So the minute they stopped whatever they would do, the diet, the activity, they gained all their weight back, which I just read to you, even from Harvard Medical School, saying stop counting calories. It's ridiculous, okay? Now let's go and really take a hard look at the big diets. The number one trend, or one of the trending out there, I should say, not number one, is time-restricted eating, where you don't eat for 16 hours and you eat for 8. This is a study, Journal of the American Medical Association. Listen to what they found when they really analyze. See, not an opinion. Not like, hey, you can lose 10 pounds on time-restricted eating. Really? That's an opinion. Where's your medical proof? Wait till you hear this medical proof, and you may have a whole different impression about thinking about time-restricted eating, even if you're doing it. Okay, listen to this. The Journal of the American Medical Association, new research found that overweight adults who were assigned to routinely fast for 16 hours daily, eating all their meals between noon and 8, popularly known as the 16-8 diet, gained almost no benefit from it. And over the course of 3 months, they lost between 2 and 3.5 pounds, but most of the weight they shed was not body fat, but lean muscle mass. There's your Achilles heel to every diet. And again, we don't just rely, we're not just going to give you one medical study. Now we're going to give you another one. This time, and hopefully you can read this, the New England Journal of Medicine, arguably the number 1 or 2 journal in the world, depending on who you talk to. They did a 12-month study on 2 groups of people. The first group lowered calories, like we're all used to that. The second group, time-restricted eating. I'm only reading from the study. This is original material. It's in the public domain. It's not an opinion, okay? The mean weight loss from baseline with those lowering calories for 12 months was 16 pounds. And the people that did time-restricted eating, it was 12.6 pounds in a year. And what did they find? Both the time-restricted eating and daily caloric restriction diets led to the loss of lean muscle mass. Again, you have 2 big studies now saying that the majority of what people are losing on all these diets. But let's go to a third one. Let's read from Nutrients, one of the big medical journals. In this one, they looked at low carbohydrate diets. What did they say? Exposure to low carbohydrate diets is associated with reductions in muscle mass and increased osteoporosis risk in obese individuals. And then they went on, what? Increased osteoporosis risk in obese individuals. They went on to say reduced muscle mass is an established risk factor for osteoporosis and has been associated with functional impairment in obese individuals. Well, did you think that going on a diet could increase your risk of osteoporosis? See, now what's happening is the medical world is saying, wait a minute, 80% of Americans are overweight, 50% are obese, 50% of Americans are pre-diabetic. What we're telling people to do based on the evidence is probably far, far, far from accurate, if that makes sense to you. So the idea that you can go on a diet, lose weight, that's not up for debate. But what kind of weight are you losing and how unhealthy is it? I'm not sure what Carly's saying there, long-term activity means temporary. I'm not exactly sure by that. Maybe you can clarify that. But let's keep going. Now let's come back over here. Before I do that, I want to show you one other thing. This is a new medical syndrome which every person on this podcast and every person in the world has. It's called the TDOS syndrome. The T is for toxicity, the D is for nutritional deficiency, the O is for being overweight, and the S is for life. It's for stress, sorry. This is a registered trademark, U.S. Patent Office, okay? So it's up there with metabolic syndrome, syndrome X. What does it mean? It means that now we know we're storing chemicals specifically in our visceral fat. You have 2 kinds of fat on the body. The outer layer, that's called subcutaneous or adipose, but the underlying, the deadly fat is called visceral. The body, as we drink and breathe and eat these chemicals, is stuffing it inside the fat cells. And that's why you have so much trouble getting rid of that pouch around your middle, even if you're down to your last 5 or 10 pounds, okay? The body is protecting us by storing the chemicals inside the fat cells. Now, that's not an opinion on my part. And here's kind of a follow-up to that. I didn't write this book, but it's a good book called The New American Diet, written by Stephen Perrin, editor-at-large at Men's Health, talking about chemicals being stored in the body. First of all, they have a name. They're called obesogens. Let me read what they're saying about this. Obesogens, that's a scary word and one you've probably never heard of before. But if you want to lose weight and keep it off for the good and protect your body, your family, and your environment in the bargain, you'll need to understand the term. Simply put, obesogens are chemicals that disrupt the function of our hormonal systems, leading to weight gain and many of the diseases that curse the American populace. They enter our bodies from a variety of sources, from natural compounds found in soy products, from artificial hormones fed to our animals, from plastic pollutants in some food packaging, and from chemicals added to processed foods, and from pesticides sprayed on our produce. They act in a variety of ways, mimicking human hormones such as estrogen, blocking the action of other hormones such as testosterone, and essentially altering the function of our genes, and essentially reprogram us to gain weight. Did you know that before today? Did you know that you're fighting against obesogens is one of the things also that's making it so difficult, especially for you to lose weight, keep it off in the long run? See, the main reason to do this, what the researchers were after, because they looked at almost every diet there was for almost 4 decades. So they knew that pretty much, let me put it back up for you. It's this book right here, The New American Diet. Hopefully everybody can see it. Really good book. But again, it's essentially pointing out what, and I'm not saying this to brag, I've been doing this for 21 years. I kind of wrote the definitive book that opened this up called Why Diets Are Failing Us back in 2010, where I said, why are we counting calories? What we should be doing is make every calorie count. And that's what all the new research is saying, that's what they think that we should be doing. Now, so what the researchers did, they determined what didn't work as far as diets were concerned. And what they found is that by putting people on diets, by lowering the food consumption, it was a code word for lowering nutrition. Here's why diets are so unhealthy. When you go on a diet and you lower your food consumption, you're really lowering also nutrition. And because the body doesn't count calories, doesn't even know what a calorie is, what count calories because calorie deficit? No, actually, that's 100% wrong. No, you're wrong. Calorie deficit. No, it's nonsense, okay? Absolute nonsense. You weren't here when I read to you from Harvard Medical School. Let me get that for you. Not my opinion, okay? The idea of a calorie in and a calorie out when it comes to weight loss is not only antiquated, it's just wrong, says Fatima Stanford, obesity specialist at Harvard Medical School. She goes on to say, drop the calories notion. It's time to take a different approach, putting the emphasis on what's in the calorie, not how many calories we're consuming. Here's another one. Why you shouldn't count calories. The truth is, calorie counting is a terrible approach for weight loss. While counting calories and restricting calories can help you lose weight in the short term, the approach has never been proven to keep weight off long term. They're gaining weight. No, lowering calories is the worst thing you can do, because when you lower calories, what they don't tell you, you're lowering nutrition. And when you lower nutrition, it puts the body in starvation mode. And in starvation mode, guess what happens? The body goes and looks for nutrition. And where does it find it? In your organs, starting with your muscles. Every study is proving that yes, you can lose weight on any diet by lowering calories. But the main 40% of what you're losing is lean muscle mass. And what does that do? 2 incredibly unhealthy things. First, slows down your metabolism. Now you plateau or you come off the diet, you gain everything back. But the second thing it does when you lose lean muscle mass, it also interferes with your own immune system. So this whole notion of calorie counting, nonsense, out the door, proven completely to be wrong. The only thing the body cares about is nutrition. So all these schemes, let me find it here. Let's go to the heart. Hold on just a second. Let me find it. Here, how about the New England Journal of Medicine? 12-month study on lowering calories, comparing to time-restricted eating. First of all, in a year's time, by lowering calories, they lost 16 pounds in 12 months. By doing time-restricted eating, 12.6 pounds. What did they say in the study? Both the time-restricted eating and daily caloric reduction diets led to the loss of lean muscle mass. This is medical proof. It's not an opinion. I'm not giving you my opinion. I mean, if calorie counting, I would appreciate it. Anybody put in the chat, name a diet that's not some form of lowering calories. What would it be? We now know, and we're not arguing the fact that you can lower calories to lose weight, but it's overwhelming evidence that the weight you're losing is so unbelievably unhealthy. That's your downfall. Otherwise, how in the world could we have 80% of America overweight, 50% obese, and 50% of Americans are pre-diabetic? But worse, CDC came out about 8 months ago and said 92% of the American population is metabolically unhealthy with 3 of 5 factors: overweight, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, high cholesterol, high triglycerides. In these studies where they compared people in this protocol to people lowering like the Mediterranean diet, like the paleo diet, like keto diet, didn't matter. These people consume more calories than the people on the other diets, and they lost weight in a week that took 8 weeks on any diet. They lost as much weight in a month as took a year on any diet. So comparing calories is nonsense. And here's the problem with lowering calories to lose weight. Let's say we could agree that lowering calories, you're going to lose weight, even though we know it's unhealthy. So let's go with 1,500 calories for all of you. Imagine behind door number 1 is 1,500 calories, lean chicken, fish, vegetables, whatever. Remember, if we're just talking about lowering calories to lose weight, now let's go to 1,500 calories behind the other door. What's behind the other door? 3 bags of M&Ms. Do you see the absurdity of counting calories? But listen, it goes much deeper than that. We're now faced globally. I'll find it here in just a second. I know I have it. Oh, yeah. Okay, here's a huge study that was published in The Lancet, arguably the #1 medical journal in the world. Listen to what they said. More than 1 billion people worldwide now are clinically obese, making obesity the leading form of malnutrition worldwide. They went on to say, most people are not aware that obesity and being underweight are both forms of malnutrition, because in both cases, the people are not getting the right amounts of vitamins, minerals, nutrients, and the types of calories that are required to be healthy. Well, that was the mainstay of these researchers. So what did they do? Well, first, they knew that if you gave people food from the grocery store, which if that was all their food, then they were going to lose some weight if they lowered the amount they ate, but they were going to lose lean muscle and they were going to gain everything back. So they limited the amount of food people got from the grocery store to about 40% of what they typically would buy in a month. So there were proteins, fats, it's a grocery list you would get. But the other thing, and here's what separates it from everything, they found 5 food groups that came from as far away as Russia, Mongolia, Manchuria, Tibet and the Himalayas, South America, New Zealand, that had massive amounts of nutrition regardless of the calories, okay? And as I said, as it turned out, if you measured the number of calories they consumed in these studies compared to all other diets, they consume more calories. Well, wait a minute. If the way to lose weight is to lower calories, how did these people consume more calories and lose weight 12 times faster than any diet with no loss of water and a gain of 6 to 9% lean muscle mass? That's not a claim. It's public. It's in the studies. No one's ever seen anything like this. Now, what are the things we're the most deficient in? Number 1, what are called trace ionic minerals. We need about 70 according to the experts. And I'm not talking about chromium and iron and things like that. I'm talking about 70 minerals, things like gold, silver, zinc, beryllium, boron, molybdenum, about 70. In the best organic you're going to find, you get 15 to 20. So now let's go on a diet and lower the amount of food that you're already short 50 out of 70 minerals. But the other thing that's critical, and how did they build lean muscle mass with no exercise? Aha. And this will be something that probably will spin people. So the way that the body makes lean muscle, certainly weight training, resistance training, that can help. But if you know about bodybuilders, what they do, they go out and they'll consume 1 to 2 ounces or 1 to 2 grams of protein for every pound they weigh. And why are they doing that? Because the only way we get the 20 amino acids that we need, actually 9 are essential, meaning you have to get them from your diet, and the other 11 are non-essential. They're consuming these huge, because protein is the only thing that carries the 20 amino acids, whether it's a protein from a plant or an animal. But in Europe, no. Why would you say something that ridiculous, David? I mean, come on. That's just, we're educating people. David, we have medical proof, what I'm saying, where people change their lives. They lost weight safely in a week that took 8 weeks on a diet. They lost as much weight in 30 days as a year on a diet. You don't even get it, okay? So at least let me finish, and then you're welcome for any opinions you want to give us. And if you want to eat ants, go for it, okay? But what they found was that, yes, you get all 20 amino acids, including the 9 essential from any protein that you ingest. But What's an interesting, in Europe about 10 years ago, they developed a new test through blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis, where when you ingested protein from a plant or an animal, you got all 20 amino acids. But that doesn't mean a thing to us. What means everything to us, what percentage 0 to 100 was the body able to use? Well, it makes vegans mad when I tell them this. I'm just a scientist. I'm just giving you the data. A vegan protein has an absorption of the 20 amino acids of only 10%. 90% is toxic waste the kidneys have to get rid of. The same with, meat is higher, but it's only 30%, whether it's steak, chicken, liver, swordfish, trout, I don't care, right? Well, the way you build muscle in your body is with one of those essential 20 amino acids. It's called leucine. You can look it up. So what the researchers found was a source that had 91% absorption of amino acids. That's why the people, men and women with no exercise a lot, gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. Where in every other diet out there, people lost anywhere from 25 to 40% of their lean muscle. Didn't matter what the diet was. Those were the outcomes over and over and over and over again. Now, maybe you don't like that answer, but that's what's going on. So any of you that want to, and if you want to continue to count calories and you think that's the way to go, God love you. But you're doing two incredibly unhealthy things to yourself unknowingly. Number one, you're reducing your lean muscle, which is slowing down your metabolism no matter what you do. But the second part is even more insidious, and that's when you lose lean muscle, we know scientifically that you're slowing down effectively your immune system. And if we've learned anything in the last few years, what do you eat then? I'll go over it just in a moment, okay? So let me come back to the study, and then I'll tell you how did they do what they did. I'll do it a few times because new people are coming on all the time. So what they did with the researchers after 38 years of looking at every diet out there and realizing, yes, people lost weight on every diet, but it was always 30-40% was lean muscle mass, and the people gained all the weight back on every diet. It didn't matter what it was, all right? Well, the proof now is we have 80% of America overweight, and we have 50% obese. We have more diets than ever, more workout programs, more fitness gurus, no celebrity endorsements, right? Well, so the researchers figured out that one of the biggest problems with lowering calories or lowering the consumption of food was you're also lowering nutrition. And because the body only runs on nutrition, and what's happening to the food in this country, it's becoming more and more nutritionally bankrupt, even organic, okay? And that's what's going on. So the problem is now, in order to give ourselves enough nutrition, it takes way more calories, or food consumption is a better term. Because see, the human body doesn't know what a calorie is. It doesn't count calories. Why are you counting calories? Because someone told you to. It's completely lopsided. It doesn't work. So the first thing the researchers did, they said, okay, this time with this protocol, their aim was not to lose weight. Their aim actually was, could we empower the human body to do what it naturally does when we go to sleep every night, which is detox. Do you know when you went to sleep last night, as long as you didn't eat too late, you went to sleep, your body suspends digestion, and automatically the body begins to detox. Every night, it happens naturally. Essentially what they created, and I'll explain to you how and why, the same process when we're awake. But if you had to rely on regular food, there'd be way too much quantity involving your digestive tract, and your body wouldn't go into the detox cycle when you were awake. So 40% of what the people ate came from the grocery store, a list of proteins, fats, carbs, vegetables, etc. But the second part, which was the most critical part, the researchers knew that the food in this country was becoming more and more nutritionally bankrupt. I read to you that report from the Lancet out of England, where they said now that 1 billion people worldwide are clinically obese, making obesity the leading form of malnutrition worldwide. That's not an opinion. And they said, most people are not aware that obesity and being underweight are both forms of malnutrition, because in both cases, the people are not getting the right amounts of vitamins, minerals, nutrients, and types of calories that are required to be healthy. So there's one of the things they did. They found sources that had gone around the world, that had gone to Russia, Mongolia, Manchuria, to Tibet and the Himalayas, South America, New Zealand, to find foods that had massive amounts of nutrition, regardless of the number of calories. So the people consumed 40% of their food from the grocery store, from recommended losers, and then these other 5 foods from around the world that included things like all 70 minerals. And the amino acid absorption of leucine, the amino acid that builds muscle, was at 91%, where steak is 30%. So they had that going in. That was the ingredients. But then they did two completely different ways of consuming food. One is called protein pacing. It's completely opposite of something like time-restricted eating or just eat when you're hungry, okay? What they did, they figured out, okay, we want specific amounts of these foods, including proteins, at very specific times over a long period of time, because the body needs a constant level of nutrition, of food, okay? And obviously protein is really important because of the amino acids. That was number one. The second thing they did, and this was really controversial, they created something called intermittent nutritional fasting. No, I didn't misspeak. It's not fasting. It's not time-restricted eating. It was essentially fasting with nutrition. I know it sounds crazy, but the reason they could do that, they had these foods that had tremendous amounts of nutrition. If you had a proportionate amount of regular food, you'd have to have 4, 5, 6 times as much food. It would never have worked, okay? Now, what is the medical evidence? What did they find? Number one, men and women with no exercise allowed. And the reason they didn't want them to exercise was they didn't want exercise to be an outlier, but they wanted to see what would happen if people were exposed to 91% absorption of leucine. Well, guess what happened? Despite losing weight in a month, it took a year on a diet, they lost no water weight, and they gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass with no exercise. In 8 weeks, they shrank visceral fat by 33%. In 8 weeks, also in a month, they lowered blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides, and inflammation just in 30 days. And inflammation went down 25% in 30 days. Hunger went down 41% in 30 days. Now you're saying to yourself, wait a minute, how in the world could they end up consuming more calories and yet they lost weight essentially 12 times faster than any diet? They even compared this protocol to the Mediterranean diet, which is the number one diet 7 years in a row in U.S. News and World Report. Well, the people in this new protocol, which is called R2M, by the way, R2M, you know, it stands for race to maintenance, because the key here is to get you to your goal as quickly as possible. But you know what's funny? We have people that want to gain weight. We have athletes that want to increase their athletic performance. But to give you an idea, how did they do? How were they giving people more calories and yet they lost weight 12 times faster than anybody else? Here's a great quote from this book. Sorry, you all can see it, The New American Diet. And here's what they said. Here's why it worked. The more nutrition you give your body, the fewer calories it wants to eat, and the more efficiently it burns the calories you do eat. Well, that's what they proved in the studies. Hunger went down 41% in a month because the more nutrition you give your body, the fewer calories it wants to eat. They proved that. But also, what did they prove? And the more efficiently it burns the calories you do eat. So it wasn't the fact that the people were consuming more calories. It was the makeup of the calorie was so efficient for the body that it didn't matter that there were more calories. It was a question of how did the body utilize. Here's a good example. So gasoline in Denver, I live in Denver, it's about $4 a gallon. And I'm making this up, but I think it's an analogy about what they said in the New American Diet. Down the street, they're selling gas for $6 a gallon. I pull in and say, are you guys nuts? They said, Peter, you don't understand. You can pay $4 a gallon, you can go 20 miles. You can pay $6 a gallon, you go 100 miles. It's the same gallon. So it's the same. The calorie is so different because what's inside the calorie, the makeup of the calorie, that's what they proved. Now, at any point, you can go to our website. I'm going to put it up here for you. The New Health Conversation. And what you can see there are the actual medical studies, okay? But also, there's an interview with the #1 nutritional researcher in the world, okay, who conducted the studies. Not me, not my opinion, his saying, they said, after almost 40 years of research now, looking at every diet out there, looking for the silver bullet for weight loss, they will never recommend any form of a traditional diet again, period, end of the story. Why? Because this medical evidence is so overwhelming. They said, Peter, how could we recommend to a patient to go on a traditional diet where it takes them 8 weeks to lose the same amount of weight these people lost in a week? And the people in the 8 week on a traditional diet, we know, we have the proof for 40 years, they lost lean muscle mass. They slowed their metabolism down. They came off that they all gained all the weight back. The people in these studies now, it's been about 2 years. They've maintained their weight loss for nearly 2 years. So even though the studies just got published, when you do a peer-reviewed study, it's not like you do the study and the next day it gets published. It takes a long time, et cetera. But the key is the only reason to do this is not to lose weight. That's like a throw-in. You know what the main reason to do it is? To combat the negative impacts of TDOS. Now, lest you think that I'm something that's made up, listen to this. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, through the National Center for Health Statistics, has conducted a series of blood and urine tests on thousands of Americans, measuring and monitoring their absorption of chemical toxins and what concentrations these chemicals occur in the body. So it's now beginning to really kind of hit mainstream. And I guess it's ironic, but it wasn't until 2005 that Mount Sinai Medical School did a test on humans, realizing we were storing herbicides and pesticides and Scotchgard and Teflon in our fat cells. Did all of you see the article a couple of weeks ago on Starbucks coffee? And I like Starbucks coffee. Those people in a cup of Starbucks coffee, you're getting between 50 and 100,000 microplastics in every cup of coffee. Right now, we're breathing in the fumes from the coal-fired power plants in China from 14 days ago, the cadmium and the mercury. We are. I mean, it's the global circulation of the wind. That's what's going on. I mean, you can pretend. And again, to not disparage anybody, you're welcome to go to anybody. Yeah, that's exactly true. Yes, food is absolutely medicine. Food should be, yes, exactly. Miriam, you're 100% on. So, but what I'm telling you is, Miriam, hopefully it makes sense. Yeah, you can put fuel in your body and get 20 miles to the gallon. But if they had done that in these studies, what you have to understand, it wasn't about the number of calories that the people had. It was about the amount of nutrition. And the makeup of that fuel, the makeup of that nutrition allowed the body to be much more efficient in the burning of calories. It'd be like starting a fire with wet logs, and you could use fire starter, etc., versus dry kindling. Boom, it goes up. Same principle in the body. So again, they're blowing away the whole concept of counting calories. Someone earlier had said, well, the only way to lose calories is to lower. If calorie reduction worked, you couldn't have 80% of America weight and 50% of people obese. It would be an impossibility. But the scary thing now are the medical consequences. We have 50% of Americans pre-diabetic. We have 45, according to the CDC, 45% of the American population has non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. In 1975, about 50 years ago, there wasn't one case, not one case. I mean, we can pretend. See, you go on a diet and you lose weight until you don't. You hit a plateau. Like I see one of these influencers and she looks really like a nice young woman and she lost 60 pounds last year. But I've been following her now for like 3 or 4 months and no matter what, she loses a half an ounce, Great, because she doesn't really realize this. Congratulations on just 60 pounds. But up to 40% of this is your lean muscle mass, which has slowed down your metabolism. So now and she keeps talking about the only way to lose weight is a mathematical formula to lower calories. No, it's not. No, not my opinion. Not when you have people like Harvard Medical School saying, stop counting calories. What are we doing? We have to change our focus. The whole purpose behind this podcast, behind the new health conversation is what? To give you an option. It's not to convince you. And if you go to that website, strawberry, that's true. I'm 500 calories, lost 12 pounds. Yeah, well, Walker, I will promise you, if you measured your lean muscle mass, you're going to be pretty disappointed. We have people losing 12 pounds in 4 days, just to let you know. Okay, so, I mean, congratulations. We would consider that an abject failure. Look, our people lost, in the studies, they lost 16 pounds in a month. And that was the average. There were people that needed to lose, and I don't know how much weight you wanted to lose, and congratulations on that. But again, it's the wrong approach long term. That's the problem, okay? It's not, I hope you got anything out of this, Walker. It's not about calorie deficit. It's about what's inside that calorie. It doesn't matter. What you're doing to your body is you're going to use your muscle for fuel. End of this. It's not my opinion. I read to you from the New England Journal of Medicine study. I mean, this was a 12-month study. Oh, here it is right here. On lowering calories in 12 months and time-restricted eating. In 12 months, the people lost, lowering calories, what you're doing, 16 pounds in a year. So you're at 5.5 pounds in 5.5 weeks. You're actually you're beating these studies by a long shot. But I want to caution you, whether you know it or not, anywhere from 25 to 40% of what you're losing is lean muscle mass. The key will be the long term. Will you weigh less 6 or 8 months from now once you stop? Well, according to the New England Journal of Medicine, they said unequivocally on both, it's right in the study, it says, both the time-restricted eating and daily caloric restriction diets led to the loss of lean muscle mass. This is the New England Journal of Medicine. It's not Peter Greenlaw's opinion. See, that's what we don't do. We won't give you an opinion. We only rely on peer-reviewed human trial studies. That's all we have to go on. Everything else is speculation. And I hope that it turns out good for you. Maybe it does. But the preponderance now of the medical evidence says that lowering calories to lose weight is really unhealthy long term, right? Rob, I'm not sure why you would have to say that. You know, what does that make you feel good? What's your solution genius? If you listen to anything, the only thing I quote from are peer-reviewed human trial studies. Nothing is my opinion. I've been a nutritional researcher for 21 years. I've written 4 best-selling books. I appeared 20 times on PBS. I've done 1,500 lectures all over the world, including in China. So somebody must have thought that I had a little bit of credibility, but it's not my credibility. That's the thing. I mean, Rob, go on whatever diet you want. Good luck. Lose 30% of your lean muscle mass and watch all the weight come crashing back. This is a real opportunity for us to really stop this pandemic. God, they're now projecting in 20 years, 100% of America is going to be overweight. Do we then say, you know what? I don't think diets work. I don't think counting calories works. It's just so, you know, and again, calories in, calories out does not work 100%. I've got, okay, right here. Why? Here's right here. Not Peter Greenlaw's opinion, why you shouldn't count calories. Truth is, calorie counting is a terrible approach for weight loss. While counting calories and restricting calories can help you lose weight in the short term, there has never been proven to keep weight off long term. And what's even worse, 2/3 of people who try to count or restrict their calories will gain back more weight than they lost. Calories in, calories out the window. Again, let's go to Harvard Medical School. The title of this one is Stop Counting. This is Harvard. I'm not making this up. I'm not, what do you think? I just ran these off on a Xerox machine? What did they say? They said the idea of a calorie in and a calorie out when it comes to weight loss is not only antiquated, it's just wrong, says Fatima Stanford, obesity specialist at Harvard Medical School. She goes on to say, drop the calories notion, said Stanford. It's time to take a different approach, putting the emphasis on what's in the calorie, not on how many calories we're consuming. That's exactly what I've been talking about on this new health conversation today. Again, you're all free. You can do whatever you want to do. If you want to believe the influences, have any of them ever held up one shred of medical evidence to support what they're telling you to do? Yeah, that's for sure. Just because they do lift weights like a beast. I'm not sure adequate quality. Okay, so let's talk about adequate protein. Okay, so first of all, this is going to probably spin your head. Protein itself, the protein is like the walnut shell. Protein itself is an incredibly toxic substance to our body, but we can't live without it because inside the protein from a plant or an animal are all 20 amino acids. But the protein itself is the shell of the walnut. Now, why would I tell you that? Because whether you ingest a protein from a plant or an animal, you get all 20 amino acids, you would think that's really great. Well, in Europe, not me, they developed a new test. It's called net nitrogen utilization, where when you ingest a protein, they can tell you what percentage of those 20 amino acids are being used by our genes to effectively remake us. Because they're called amino acids are called the building blocks of life, okay? They do replicate muscle. They do all kinds of things, right? Well, shockingly, when they looked at like an animal, a vegetable protein, the absorption of those aminos was only 10%. Not my numbers, they did it. And they did blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis. Then when they looked at all meats, it was 30%. Didn't matter for a steak, chicken, liver, fish, venison, didn't matter. 30%, right? So when they're telling you adequate protein, they'll say like, have 120 grams of protein. You think you're getting 120 grams of protein. No. You're getting, if it's meat, you're getting 36 grams out of 120. The other, what's not converted into amino acids, are turned into toxins. You can look this up. They have a name. They're called nitrogen catabolites. That's why, God forbid, if you've ever had a friend that was on kidney dialysis, they don't want them to have any protein at all, period. End of the story. These researchers found a source of protein where the absorption was 91%. That's why men and women with get this, think this. Nobody was allowed to exercise. They even wore the equivalent of a Fitbit to prove they weren't exercising. They lost weight in a month. It took a year on any diet. They lost no water, and instead of losing lean muscle, remember, this is without exercise, they gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. The researchers aren't against exercise. My God, they've been looking at, they've worked with Navy SEALs and Green Berets and Olympians and CrossFit people and marathoners. Yeah, I'm saying, calories. No, unfortunately, calories are empty. We know. If you looked at the research, for example, and I do eat organic, but not because it's that much better nutritionally. It's less polluted. But in 200 studies, when they analyzed organic versus regular, there was a little bit of difference in nutrition, but they were way less polluted, and that's why I consume it. So every calorie you take in your body should matter what's in that calorie, not how many calories you're absorbing. Otherwise, that argument about the only way to lose weight is to lower calories. Well, here's why that goes out the window. So let's say we agreed on a number to lose weight. You need to be down, I'm just using this, 1,500 calories a day. If that's the case, then we have two different kinds of diets. On my right, in the right door is 1,500. Here's the diet: lean, proteins, fats, carbs, whatever. 1,500 calories. Remember, if it's only about lowering calories to lose weight, then this would work. If the number is 1,500, we open that door on my left hand, and the 1,500 calories come from what? 3 bags of M&Ms. Do you see the absurdity of that argument? That's why, again, Harvard Medical School, what are they saying? Stop counting calories. It's not Peter Greenlaw giving you an opinion. This is not a claim. I'm reading from the studies. Or this one over here. This is another great one. It says, don't bother counting calories. It's complete nonsense. It's not my opinion. What did they say in this study? Inevitably, notice they use the word more than. Inevitably, more than 95% of people will go back to their baseline weight, and many will go above it. They rebound back if they're doing any form of calorie-restricted diet. And then when you look at the results, here's the one I think that will open your eyes. This study was done by the Journal of the American Medical Association, certainly one of the top 10 journals in the world, right? They did a 12-month study. The title of it was Comparison of Weight Loss Among Named Diet Programs. So they named all the big diets: keto, paleo, Mediterranean, time-restricted eating, fasting, the Cornish diet, the Zone diet, the DASH diet, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem, on and on. Okay, they looked at 48 different studies, not one study, 48 different studies where they looked at all these diets over 12 months. Oh, it was 7,286 people. 7,200. What did they find? After 12 months, didn't matter what the name, so they looked at who lost the most weight, who lost the least amount of weight. The difference in a year was 10 ounces. And the weight loss in a year was 16 pounds in a year. The same as in the New England Journal of Medicine study. And I keep coming back to this, that these people with no exercise lost 16 pounds in a month and gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. Didn't lose lean muscle mass like in all these other studies. I would hope that at least you'd be curious. So you can go to our website. I'm going to put up there again for you. It's called the same as our podcast, The New Health Conversation. Sorry. You can go there. Oh, somebody put up there for me. You beat me to the punch. Thanks very much. And again, I want to clarify something. Notice it says the researcher of the researchers. That's me. I'm not doing the research. I bring the research to you. You're welcome to look it up. It's in the public domain. We're totally transparent. But again, I would just ask you to think about if all these people that are on social media, if what they really had worked, they'd want to have a peer-reviewed human trial study. There's nothing higher in medicine, okay? No drug ever gets approved without going through a peer-reviewed human trial study. Not a scientific paper. They'll say things like scientific evidence. Yeah, where's your peer review? There's no peer review. That's like, thank goodness, I mean, no drug ever gets approved without a peer-reviewed human trial study to protect us. And even sometimes they get it wrong. But what you have to understand, when you submit to a peer-reviewed human trial study, you give up all your rights to the data. The journal then decides if they're going to publish it, they don't review it. They send it out to other world-class experts. That's where the term peer review comes from. And what's the job of those peer reviewers? To discredit what you're claiming. So ask yourself, if any of this stuff you see on social media or all these hacks, drink coffee, I mean, there's not one shred of medical evidence for a reason. Because if they really were scrutinized, the claims they're making are completely unsubstantiated. When you have peer-reviewed human trial studies, they're irrefutable. They've already been reviewed, not by Peter Greenlaw. I don't want you to believe me, by the top people in the entire world, whose only job is to discredit. That's why they're peer reviewers. I mean, there's just so much evidence out there that I would be very curious as I learned about eugenics. How it had to shape everything. Oh, yeah, you're talking about I think, I'm not sure, maybe you spelled it wrong, but you're talking about passing on down the gene traits from person to person. Yeah. Yeah, well, Freddie, I'm going to tell you right now, if you go more, again, Freddie, don't believe me. If you go more than 24 hours on a fast, your body, here's what happens. Here's how fasting works, okay? Or in this case, intermittent nutritional fasting. It takes your body about 22 to 24 hours to burn through the excess, it's called glycogen, trade word for sugar, stored in your liver, okay? Once it's burned through that, there's only two things left. My right hand is muscle and my left hand is fat. Well, on a fast at about 24 hours, what does the body do? It ignores the fat and burns the muscle. Every one of these studies is proving that, okay? Same thing happens on diets, it's just a little bit slower. Because think about it. You're going on a fast, okay, it's good for like 24 hours, but then now what does your body do for fuel? What is your body doing for nutrition? Because the simplest thing for the body to burn is sugar and simple carbohydrates. We know that going in. And again, at any point, you can go to our website, The New Health Conversation. Not if you're in your target aerobic zone. Well, you have, Rob, please show me the peer-reviewed human trial study about that. It's not, no, that's not true. You're trying to tell me these people that weren't allowed to exercise gained 6 to 9%. I mean, there's nothing like this. I know you want to compare it to these, aerobic zone, et cetera. But let's assume that worked. How many people do you think are as dedicated as someone like yourself that's going to do that? They're not going to do it, or we wouldn't have 80% of America overweight and 50% obese. These people, and also, Rob, with doing that, do you have any proof it's removing toxins from your body? Because the medical studies prove that in sweat, you lose no toxins. And the main reason to even consider doing this is to deal with this syndrome that you and everybody else on the planet has. Toxicity, deficiency, overweight, and stress. You're storing chemicals in your visceral fat, whether you know it or not. There's a new term called normal weight obesity, which they redefine as visceral obesity, meaning just because of the way you look on the outside, even if you're in great shape and you're ripped and all that, doesn't mean you don't have toxins stored in your visceral fat. None of these programs have. They are right, David. Exactly. When you have a peer-reviewed human trial study, it's over. There's no argument. It's not like, let's have a discussion about it. For what? It's already been peer-reviewed by the top experts in the world. I don't pretend I'm the researcher of the researchers. I didn't do the research. I'm just making it available to you. And if you walk away from this and you want to go back to aerobic zone and 10,000 steps, go for it. I'm not going to talk you out of it. But my gosh, when we look at the evidence, I mean, when they looked at all the diets, all the schemes, 16 pounds in a year, and the difference in weight loss was 10 ounces in a year. As a matter of fact, I'll say this again. The main reason to consider this is not to lose weight. That's a given. And the researchers who did this, they did diet and exercise. They work with Olympic athletes. They work with Navy SEALs and Green Berets and CrossFit people and triathletes and marathoners. They know it's not me. They don't sell anything. They produce the research, and it's peer-reviewed. One of the studies they just published, and this is again to prove to you it's not a diet. This was published, and maybe you can see it, in Nature Communications, the #1 journal in the world for weight loss and wellness. It's so exclusive that out of 100 submissions to get published, they look at 7. And out of 7, they publish 1. This just got published. Well, it didn't have anything to do with weight loss. It was about the gut microbiome. That's basically your immune system inside your gut. And they showed in here in a month a massive increase in what's called the biodiversity of your gut. Simply put, if you had a garden and you just grow tomatoes, the garden's not going to be good if you have a variety. It's the same thing in the gut. And in 8 weeks, people with incredible challenges. Again, it's actually on our website. If you go to our website at the New Health Card, you can see it and read it. We have nothing to hide. We're totally transparent. But the thing that makes us different is that if you do go, what does work? Okay, I'm going to explain. What's the matter? Okay, it's not Austin. It's 91% absorption. Sorry, I'm just being a jerk. No, it really is 91%. Austin, I found that eggs are best. Yeah, eggs are good. They're at about 40%. But that's the highest it goes in sort of I should have mentioned that. So if you're talking about steak, chicken, liver, fish, it's 30%, and egg is 40%. If they're organic eggs, that's really a good thing. But it's not 91%. That's completely different, all right? But what I was going to say to all of you is that basically the researchers set out to create the ability of our own body to remove the chemicals from fat cells. They weren't thinking they were starting a new weight loss program. They didn't think they were going to have something that reduced blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides, and inflammation by 25% in a month. Hunger went down 41% in 30 days. People shrank their visceral, but with no exercise, no sit-ups, no crunches, by 33% in 8 weeks. Now, if people want to exercise, like Rob or some, of course, they're not against exercise. That would be ridiculous. Eggs are also... Quality, yeah, that's why I said, Walker, if they want to be organic eggs. Look, I don't want you to believe me, okay? Why don't you? I'm going to invite you. Go to the website. Number 1, you'll see the medical studies. You'll see a breakdown. You'll see how much people's blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglyceride, and inflammation all came down in 30 days. You'll also see that there's an interview with the #1 nutritional researcher in the world who's worked with Green Berets and Navy SEALs and all these people over the course of almost 40 years. You might want to listen to him, where they said unequivocally, they'll never recommend any form of traditional diet ever again that involves lowering calories. They don't work in the long run. I'm not saying that some of you aren't having success in the short run. But life is not a well, it sort of is but a diet for sure is a destination. I'll do it unless or until. I've got a wedding to go to. I got an anniversary. I've got a school reunion, whatever. I just want to, want to look better in my jeans for whatever, or a bathing suit for summer, whatever it is. But how many of you really believe if you're on a diet right now that a year from now you're going to weigh less than you do now? Because the evidence doesn't support it. When they're talking about 95% of the people will go back to their baseline and many will go above it. Or in this study where they said stop counting calories, that what's even worse about counting calories is 2/3 of people who try to count or restrict the calories will gain back more weight than they lost. How much more? I mean, do you have different science you want to look at? I mean, we only rely on scientific proof. We don't give you opinions. If you want opinions, plenty of people on social media. And what do we do for you? We'll do a free consultation. Who's giving you that? Because what if you want to gain weight? What if you are an athlete, like I think Rob's an athlete? I mean, we've worked with, Rob, you'll probably be impressed with this. I have one of the top trainers, actually trainer to the stars in Hollywood. He started on the protocol. He was at 12% body fat. In 14 days, he went from 12% body fat to 5% body fat and gained 5 pounds lean muscle in 14 days. That's what can happen to athletes. And he was already eating organic and doing everything, working out 7 days a week. But he said he got down one other time to 5% body fat through dehydration. He said, yeah, I looked great, but I felt like I was dying. I mean, that's why this isn't a diet. It has nothing to do with dieting. This has to do with maximizing your quality of life potential. It really is a quality of life system. It's not a diet. And you know, what's impossible? What are you talking? I'm sorry. When you send Austin Slater, what's impossible? I'm really sorry. I honestly, Austin, please clarify. What's impossible? No, it's not. No. I know him. Oh, you mean he went from 12 to 5%, gained 5 pounds? See, that's your opinion, Austin. I know the man. I was there. I saw it, etc. He has no reason to make it up. I actually have a video with him where I interviewed him where he talked about it, how shocked he was. I'm glad you think it's impossible. Great. How many things are we using, including being on this medium today? What do you mean? How do we do this? How does GPS work? How does any of this work? So just because you think it's impossible, well, I saw it with my own eyes, okay? It was actually from 12% to 5%, not 6%. No, in 14 days, not 3 weeks, Austin. Let's be clear. It was 14 days. I mean, again, you could think I made up the story. I didn't make up the story, okay? I mean, I have it. I have, like I said, I have the interview with him where he talks about it. He has no dog in this hunt. He just, you know. So I love the fact that people feel that way. But you see, we're holding on to stuff that used to make sense. Because obviously on any diet, they always said, if you lose weight too quickly, it's really unhealthy. I hold to that today because the majority of what people are losing is lean muscle mass. Again, these people weren't even allowed to exercise. And they gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. There were people in here that needed to lose 150 pounds. I mean, it's great. Well, Walker, it's really a matter of, are you getting, for example, you need 70 trace minerals. In the best organic, you're getting 20. In these protocols, they were able to get all 70 minerals. The same thing with the 91% absorption of the amino acid. So the point is, it's not going to be, let's just say we settled on a number of 2,000 calories a day. If you're doing 2,000 calories a day with if primarily with regular food, you're already in a deficit because number one, you're short by 50 minerals. And secondly, even if you're doing steak, chicken, liver, you're getting 30% of the aminos, not 91%. Do I have proof? What do you think we've just been talking about? 7 peer-reviewed human trial studies. Do I have proof? Yeah, I'd say I have proof. Do you understand that a peer-reviewed human trial study is irrefutable? It's already been proven. And again, yes, he put it up there for me. And again, go and see for yourself. Don't believe me. So the new health. Look, watch the interview with the #1 nutritional researcher in the world. He'll tell you in almost 40 years, I've never seen anything like this. Everything we're talking about, I know it's way out of the box. Oh, that's impossible. Oh, it did happen. Because again, here's the medical proof. When men and women didn't even exercise and they gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass, is it surprising that incredible trainer shrank his visceral fat? Well, they proved it they went down 33% in these people with no exercise. So him exercising with this protocol, that's why it's not a diet. That's why people who want to gain weight go on this and they gain weight. We have kids as young as 2. I got a guy with a heart transplant that's doing it. He needs to lose about 60 pounds. Pretty much of a challenge when you've had a heart transplant. Got people that have had, we're not treating, diagnosing, and making medical claims. That's not what we're doing. I'm just telling you what we've seen and what we see, every single day. I can't even tell you about some of the stuff because TikTok they wouldn't be happy with making it. But we're not making claims when we're just sharing with you from the peer-reviewed human trial studies, if that makes sense. So it's up to you. I would say you can see it there. Oh, it was 10. I spelled it wrong. I'm sorry. It's the new. I forgot the H. Sorry. It's the new health card. You type up the correct website? Because what I would encourage you to do, if you want, go to the website. Here's what we'll promise you. If you go to the website, we won't contact you. 100% no way. But if you go there and really look at the medical evidence there, including the before and afters, it'll shock you. And then, and only then, once you've taken a few minutes to go through, you can sign up for a free consultation. And I mean free, not a bait and switch, not a trickery. especially even if you're skeptical, at least go to the website and see there it is, the New Health Conversation. The personal consultation, they're free. We're not charging you for it. So I hope that you will take the time to go there, go to the website at least, and look at the proof. The proof's there. They list how much blood sugar, blood pressure, cholesterol, triglycerides, lean muscle. It's all there. It's completely transparent. So again, it's up to you. Second point. What if you don't eat enough? Okay, well, if you don't eat enough, somebody's making a comment. The problem is that your body will go in starvation mode. Because again, it has nothing to do with the food. It has everything to do with what's inside the food. So what happens when your body doesn't have enough nutrition, you have no control over it. It will go and begin to transform your muscles into carbohydrates for fuel. And in so doing that, two of the most unhealthy things happen that you can imagine. One, the body, without you doing anything, slows down your metabolism. Now you can't burn as many calories, you plateau, or you come off the diet, you gain everything back. But the other thing that happens is that your body also, because of the lack of nutrition, because of you losing lean muscle mass, it slows down your immune system. That's what people aren't telling you. I don't know why. Maybe they know, maybe they don't know. I'm not judging anybody. But what I'm trying to show you is that there's a completely different option. If you go to that website, the New Health Conversation, sign up for a free consultation or not. It's not going to change my life, but it could change your life. There are people on here already that I can see them, that it's changed their lives. Not a commercial. And if you go to the website, the free consultation, it's not somebody an 800 number. It's not a bait and switch. It's someone who's done the protocols, been trained by me to answer your questions. Because honestly, with all this, what if you want to gain weight? What if we have kids as young as 2 and grandma's 90? Like I said, we have people that, have no thyroids. We have people that have had kidney transplants. I mean, a person that's a diabetic, that's a different program than someone that, say, has high blood pressure. It's all over. And we're not treating, diagnosing, making any medical claims or preventing or curing any diseases. Let's be clear. We're not. But if you're really interested, at least in an option about having something different to do than what you're currently doing, which all of these are involving diet and exercise or 10,000 steps or making a journal or drinking enough water, which is, by the way, drinking enough water it's a good idea, just on a general basis, not just because you're losing weight. So the point is, I'm just looking over here. I'm not quite sure what they're saying, but for all the rest of you or any of you that really feel like you got some value out of this today, I would urge you to go to the New Health Conversation, look at everything. Like I said, for the 20th time, we're not going to contact you. We don't need to do that. We have science on our side. We don't give you an opinion, okay? Certainly people on these, they all come on and give me their opinions. Well, it's about calorie deficits. No, it's not. Not my opinion. The medical proof is there. They're saying that lowering calories to lose weight is really an unhealthy thing because you're not taking into account what's inside the calorie. And if you're relying on food from North America, our food in North America is becoming increasingly nutritionally deficient or bankrupt. See, when you're hungry, you're not craving calories. That's what you got to get through your head. You're craving nutrition. So like the person said, what if you don't eat enough? Well, even if you eat enough of food that's the problem. Even if you think you're doing as good as you can do, you're doing all organic, which I do as much as I can, right? It's not enough. Because if it was enough, you couldn't possibly have 80% of America overweight and 50% obese and 50% of Americans pre-diabetic. Something's terribly, terribly wrong. But what do? We keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. And what does that add up to? Definition of insanity. So one last time, you can see up there before I close out this podcast, the New Health Conversation. And the main thing you want to do is go there for your own benefit, see what's there, and then you can sign up for a free consultation if you want. You don't have to. So I hope all of you have a great rest of your Saturday. By the way, this is not recorded. It's 2:20 Denver time right now on 7/13/2024. And we don't do that. We do live podcasts for all of you. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Hope you have a great weekend. And again, I encourage you, invite you to go to the website, see what's there. And if you like what you see, sign up for a free consultation. So I'm going to sign off now for everybody. So have a wonderful day. Okay.